Conferences often seem like a great way to network and meet investors. But then you get there and it might be hard to find the people who fit best with you, get the most out of your moment, or even get immediately overwhelmed by the chaos. Today, as we go into startup conference season, let's give you the inside scoop. Welcome to the Manage Chaos podcast, where we give you the startup business rundown in less time than it takes for you to get to work. I'm Rachel Anderson, and today, Katrina gets a break, and I get the pleasure of talking to an incredibly smart and accomplished investor, Jenn Summe. Jenn Summe is a partner at Primordial, where she invests in early-stage tech startups across North Carolina. With deep roots in the startup ecosystem and a degree from Duke University's Fuqua School of Business, she brings valuable insights into scaling businesses and connecting entrepreneurs with resources. As a co-founder of LiLa, which is Ladies Investing Local Angels, Jenn is passionate about educating and supporting women interested in angel investing and the startup ecosystem. Known for her ability to identify promising ventures and foster meaningful connections, Jenn's expertise in early stage investment and business development makes her an invaluable mentor for aspiring entrepreneurs. And I am more than delighted to talk with her today. Jenn, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this chat.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm also very, very glad to be here.
Okay, good. Now, you and I met at LiLa, which is the Ladies Investing Local Angels group. And let me tell you, I know we had an event just last week. I am constantly humbled by the amount of wisdom and experience in that room.
Me too. We have assembled an amazing group of women. I think we're over 170 members now, but generally we have like 30, 40-ish people come out to any given event based on schedules. And they just come from all backgrounds and all levels of education in an angel investing. You know, I love what we've created there because it feels like we're all learning from each other. You're not having someone at the front just lecture. Like we're all, it's active discussion, and we're all bringing our own experiences and lenses to the table when we're having these good conversations and learning about angel investing.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put that. It's almost truly peer-to-peer learning in so many ways, or at least it feels like it, even from like someone who does not feel like a peer. I'm still just learning. But that's perfect, because today we're going to learn more about the investor angle and really what does that look like at conferences, and how can we give our best ideas and suggestions to all the startup leaders out there that really want to make the most of connecting and networking and being present at these events. So I'm gonna dive in and just really open it up broad and say, how do startup leaders really align their time at the conference that they're planning on going to in this like crazy startup season with the goals that they're trying to have or have kind of set forth?
Yeah, that is the biggest piece of this puzzle. You have to plan. I love planning. And you have to do your homework ahead of time before the conference even starts. I usually recommend at least a couple weeks back, figure out who is going to be there, see if there's any lists of conferences, investors who are, already signed up, have tickets. If there are any like pre-conference events or post-conference events that have lists that you can look at of like, oh, this person's going, you can start figuring out who's going to show up. Or you can look at past attendees, usually pictures, whatever. You can look at their LinkedIn to see if they've gone last year and get a good guess if they're going to be there again. And then do your homework on who are the ones that you want to talk to. And it all depends on your goals. If you're fundraising actively, like you need to get those conversations, you need to get meetings with investors, especially while you're there. If you're pitching at the event, obviously you have to do a lot of pitch practice. And I know they usually have sometimes they'll have scrub sessions where you can practice with the conference organizers before you get on stage. Take advantage of those. Get your pitch in front of as many people as possible before you get up on stage. You want it to be really, really sharp and perfect. But also, while you're there, there's really valuable networking. There's all sorts of dinners and events, and usually they'll have time set aside for networking or for individual meetings with investors. So just figure out what your goals are. If it's to really nail the pitch and line up a couple meetings with some really key people that you want to talk to, great. If you're going to attend, I would also say go watch some pitches too. Those are always great learning experiences for founders, and you'll probably have a little bit of downtime to sit in on some of those pitches. And then really make use of the networking sessions and any breakout rooms or private meeting rooms that they might offer at those events. Have your business cards ready, or whatever, LinkedIn QR code, little hack that I do. That I've told people about, it's not my idea. I forget who I learned it from, but this is what people remember me for, is if you pull up your QR code on LinkedIn, take a screenshot and then set that image as the background of your phone. So then you just have to open your phone and it's already ready to go. You can connect and quickly connect with somebody on LinkedIn.
I love that.
I know.
That's amazing. Yeah, I had some tip for someone I had met the other day about connecting on LinkedIn with the QR code. It was not that savvy where you set it as your background. And they were like, wow, you're so smart. And I was like, no, I only have secondhand smartness. Like I just pass on what other people tell me.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to use that one too. And I'm going to be like, yes, you're welcome. Here you go.
It'll be what you're remembered for. I guarantee. This is like the big takeaway they've gotten from Jenn Summe is, I do use that QR code tip on my phone. I was like, okay, that's awesome. I'm glad that stuck, but
that's good. Cause I'm about to go to a conference too. So now I'm like, yes, this is perfect. So
it's like quick draw, ready to go.
I love that. It's like your own little guns. You're like, here we go. Yeah. So speaking of quick draw, what are the things that you think as an investor when you meet people at these conferences and these, like, I'll say larger networking events even, because I don't think it has to be an official, like, we're going to this conference, but when you meet people, what are the things that you feel like show good indication of them being prepared or even just prepared to have the conversation, or the thing that you sort of the intangibles outside of the actual product and what they're trying to pitch? Like, what are the things that you think startup leaders really need to focus on and be prepped for in order to make that best impression while they connect and talk to people in these kind of big, forgettable scenarios?
Yeah. There's a little bit of a cheat that I'm going to suggest.
I love a cheat.
Yeah, which I have used when I was, trying to make my mark in this ecosystem. And I usually pass this knowledge along to anybody I know. But make these big networking events and conferences the second time you've met somebody. Because if you do your research, you know who's going to be there, try to get at least a phone call or a coffee or something that's one-on-one where you're not in a huge group of 500 people where they're going to get pulled and someone's going to come up and give them a hug and like interrupt your conversation, because those conversations are super fast. So if you can get some dedicated time with them beforehand, and then when you see them, now it's like you're seeing an old friend. Oh, hey, we just chatted a couple of weeks ago. Great to see you again. Would love to, chat a little bit more when you have time or whatever it is. But it's like you're seeing old friends versus meeting someone for the first time. So the pressure is gone. And you've already gone through that hard obstacle of having their dedicated attention to tell them a little bit about who you are and what you're doing. So do a little bit of prep work. Like right now, for instance, we've got Venture Connect at the end of this month. And we've already lined up a lot of meetings with the presenting companies so that I could see them and learn more about them before and have their like dedicated attention beforehand. And then at Venture Connect, I'll see them on stage and like cheer them on because I've already met them, maybe come back with some really detailed questions with them after that. But, I already kind of know what they're doing. It just gives me a chance to see how they perform on stage really and connect with them again.
That's really great. I really like that a lot. I feel like so often there's a lot of pressure of making this networking moment, this conference, sort of the launch of something. And this almost pulls back a little bit and says, no, like you can make this valuable before you even enter the stage of where the event is and the location, and really having that personal connection. I think that's a really good.
I think that's the big value is you can use the networking event and anything that might be going on or like a funny thing that happened on stage or whatever. Like you get to build those deeper personal connections during that time. And that's going to be more valuable and memorable in the long run than you pitching your business. I mean, you need to have kind of like your 1 minute elevator down before you go, because if you do meet new people, and you will, you can kind of rattle that off, and ideally it resonates with them and you can dive into a deeper conversation there. But try to do some homework beforehand and get some of those meetings beforehand so that you can really make use of the value of those deeper connections during the event.
That's great. So as you're looking, you as the startup leader, as you're looking at the plethora of options that are available to you, I know as a business owner, it's so easy to get time suck from networking and being present in your local community and kind of spreading out the connections. And I think it's so necessary. Absolutely. Like, you need to be present, you need to get connected, all that stuff. I also think that sometimes I talk to leaders who invest in moments that I look at and I'm like, I don't know that this is right for you. Like, I don't know that this just being present or available or just going to a conference to say you're going to a conference is, really helpful. So what would you say, like, are all conferences for startup leaders helpful? What are and isn't? If not, how would you recommend they make those decisions? You definitely talked about goals. So like, I had my listening ears on, but like, what does that look like as you're trying to give them both bang for buck, but then also meaningful outcomes?
Yeah, I think it does align a lot with goals. But broadly, it needs to be good value for your time, because time is not an infinite resource, and founders especially have very little of it. So if you're going to be spending a decent amount of time doing something, you really should be getting a good amount of value out of it. And so, if it's one of those conferences where it's a lot of pitching and you're going to be on stage, you're going to get a lot of visibility, you might meet you're planning on meeting a lot of investors, that could be good, time value for money. But if it's more educational focused, that's only going to be valuable for you if it's an educational gap that you need to fill for the success of your business. And I would also be wary to make sure that you're not spending too much time there. Or if you have dual goals on more of an educational conference, maybe it's getting some education. A lot of times conferences can just be energizing for you. Especially founders, when you're hustling it out at home by yourself, having that community and connection with some other founders who are in the trenches, same as you, but doing something different, can be really energizing and could carry you for another couple of months. So if you need that jolt of energy, that could be a goal. If it is creating community and finding other founders to talk to and commiserate with, that could be a goal. So it just really depends on what you're looking to get out of it. And then also, do the work to make sure that you do get that value out of the time that you're spending, because it is incredibly valuable.
It is. Yeah. That's great. So as we kind of look at, wrapping up some of the thoughts and ideas, my main question is, so then what? They've gone, they've conquered, they've connected. What is the best tip for really solidifying a valuable relationship with investors or the other people that startup leaders engage with there?
I would recommend, I'm a big fan of block scheduling. So I have, days blocked off for a conference at any given time. I block off at least 2 days after it. One of those days is going to be catch up on work that I didn't get to do during the time that I was at the conference. And the second is, you need a day to just sit down and follow up. You're going to be gathering business cards. You're going to be making connections on LinkedIn. Hopefully you've been out like taking pictures with new friends and posting them on LinkedIn saying, oh, so glad to meet these people, call them out. But have a good follow-up strategy. You need to make sure that you're on the ball with following up, and not like 3 or 4 weeks later, but the next day, like while they're still traveling home, shoot an email. So great meeting you. Don't let them forget about the conversation or the connection that you made at those events, and leverage them. Say, would love to get another follow-up meeting booked on the calendar. What's your availability like in the next week or two? Just be really quick on circling back with all of these people and getting in front of them again.
That's great. And I want to demystify. So Jenn, as an investor, are you like, ugh, another email from a startup leader? Like, is there any hesitancy that startup leaders should have in reaching out and re-engaging the investor?
No, no. I don't say that.
I know. I was like, it doesn't even sound like you, but I feel
I
like
have
a
to do
lot of
my
people-
job.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk to these founders. No, I love talking to founders. That's part of why I love this job so much is I love the energy that they have. It resonates so well with me. I am energized by their energy and their positivity and their vision for what they're trying to build. So don't hesitate to reach out. And it also, this is another thing too, if you're trying to run a business, being good at follow-up also shows that you're probably going to be good at follow-up when you're doing sales calls too. So it's like kind of a positive check mark for investors saying, oh, okay, they've got hustle, they have a sales mentality, they're following up with me, they're pushing things forward, they're getting another call in the books. And we assume that all of that effort talking to investors is going to translate to customers too. So that gives us good confidence in you as a founder.
I like it. So for those of us that are driven by accolades, get your check mark, get your gold star, make sure that you follow up with the investor. It's nothing but good things. Well, that's great, Jenn. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been really helpful, especially as we're getting into conference season. If people want to connect with you, where should they go, or what kind of person should definitely engage?
Oh, yeah. All types. I love everything about this ecosystem and founders and promoters and funders. So if you're interested in learning more at all about Primordial or LiLa, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I admittedly am not the best at getting back to people on LinkedIn. I check my email more than I check my LinkedIn, but usually every couple of days I'm on it. So at least by the end of the week, I will probably get back to you. But yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn, shoot me a note. If you send me a connection with no note and I don't know you, like I'm not going to look at it. So send me a note, tell me what you want to talk to me about. Also, if you reach out on the Primordial website, goes to hello at Primordial. Those all come to my inbox as well as my associate Sonali. So we'll see it either way. If you're a founder, absolutely reach out. We love any cold outreach. You can also walk up to me at any conference or event that I'm at. I'm at most of the Triangle events here and definitely some around broader North Carolina. So feel free to just walk up and introduce yourself. And if you're interested in LiLa, you can reach out to me or Rachel. She didn't mention that she's also part of our steering committee now. So she'll tell you more about it.
Under the table.
But you can also find out more on lilainvest.com and reach out to us there.
Well, this has been another amazing episode with our remarkable guest, Jenn Summe. If you want to connect with Jenn, we'll link how to connect with her in the show notes. So take a look there. And thank you, as always, for joining us. We can't wait to talk to you again on a future episode of the Manage Chaos Podcast.